All right. We're coming in hot. Welcome to another episode of Camp Content. Always excited for our guest, but extra excited today because we have Connell Barrett. And if you are not familiar, I don't know how you could not be, but he is at 10 years as a dating coach. So, Connell, we produce this podcast, and it's one of our favorite shows to edit, listen in on, and be a part of because there's a lot of good information in there. But Connell has transformed the lives of thousands of men across 21 countries, guiding them to find true love. His mission is simple and powerful. He helps introverts and nice guys gain the confidence they need to make genuine connections with women and discover their soulmates, all while embracing radical authenticity. No toxic pickup tricks required. So he is also the author of the Amazon best-selling Dating Sucks, But You Don't, which I love the title. And he has also been recognized by publications like Men's Health and Playboy. Gang. He shared his experience, his insights and experience on TV shows such as Good Morning America and Access Hollywood. Psychology Today even hails him as America's most innovative dating coach, which is, super impressive. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Welcome to Camp Content, Connell. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Molly. Can we just make the whole show you reading my resume and then just
I was about to say she even forgot a part because he does go by the real life Hitch as well.
Man. Do over.
Okay. No. There's no mulligans. No mulligans allowed. Nice to see you both. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for being here. I'm not exaggerating. You really are our favorite podcast. Like, we learn a lot, because our clients are literally like, some of them are talking about like China and Iran. And we run the gamut and like the content, but like yours is definitely the most interesting to listen in on or like run the session or edit. And the guys you used to talk all the time, how they would implement some of your tips.
And I was even going to say, sorry, after last week's, I think, interview with Melanie, I was meant to message you, Molly. I'd say Connell's top two in terms of just pure good interviewer that we've had as clients. I would say him and Terry Schultz, but shout out to her because she's a journalist for NATO and lives over in Belgium. So that's literally her job.
Wow. That's high praise. Thank you very much.
It's good.
And there's just something about dating, whether you're single, married, whatever your status is. It's just an inherently interesting topic. What attracts people, gets them together. So it's fun to eavesdrop on any dating conversation.
Absolutely. Well, and you have a lot of good guests, and just your solo podcast is really informative. So it's always a good time. So how did you, not to get too deep in the origin story, but how, 10 years ago you started this thing. So how did you get into this zone? It was your own journey that led you there, or, how'd you end up here?
I was terrible at dating. I had no confidence. I barely had a girlfriend well into my 30s. The one woman who liked me, I married her, even though I didn't want to. But I thought, well, let's either marry her or be alone. And then she dumped me 9 weeks after our wedding. The joke at the time was it was over so fast that we fought for custody of the wedding cake.
Oh my God.
Just a 9-week marriage. It was joking through the pain. But anyway, after that relationship ended and a couple other roadblocks, I said, you know what? I need help. I don't want to feel lonely. I don't want to feel limited. And so I went off on this 5-year journey to figure out how to gain confidence, how to flirt, just to find out if I was enough, find out if women liked me or not. And once I realized what worked and what didn't, I then said, oh, this is great. I love doing this. There's some really great benefits to this besides romance. And I also saw what didn't work with the kind of toxic pickup guys who were out there, because I worked with some of them too and sort of learned what not to do. And then I said, oh, I want to teach this. This is a great thing to teach. And you don't have to be a creepy, weird pickup guy to approach a woman or to learn to flirt. You can actually be very much authentic, very much yourself. So that's how I got into it. I did not set off to be a dating coach. I set off just to heal my wounds and not have to settle or feel like I had very few options. And so I now basically coach men who are like that. I coach my younger self. Nice guys, introverts, guys whose whole lives are pretty much together, except they just never learned how to talk to women or how to feel confident. So that's why I do it, because I want to help the younger me in a sense.
Yeah, and
I really do. Yeah, I really
Sorry,
do.
he just kind of goes through and just hits everything. I mean, I know this because I can say I am the guy that's listened to every single dating transformation podcast.
You poor thing.
I have to, but I also want to, and I enjoy it. But it's good because it goes through everything, and he goes from like the solo pods. Like right now, if you go and listen to it, if you listen to this, he's currently releasing 2 back-to-back episodes on dating sober, and just not having to go out and get wasted to be able to talk to people because that gives you confidence. But it's got everything from sex coaches to actual clients that we kind of hide their identity and go from there. But I've heard about a million stories of successful clients out at the night because kind of we'll go to the bar with these people, these men, and he'll ask them, hey, who do you think the most attractive girl in here is? And they'll point them out and it's like, all right, like go try this. But for those who haven't maybe listened yet, can you give a good, like maybe 1 or 2 good successful stories from a client on a night out or anything?
Right. Well, you were talking about the karaoke opener, Matt.
Yeah, the Purple Rain one, right?
Yeah, I'll take a client out. I was out with a client once, and we just looked around the rooftop bar at this bar in downtown Manhattan at a hotel lounge, and I said, "All right, who here are you most intrigued by? What woman stands out to you?" And he looked around the room and said, "Oh, that woman in the silver dress, that brunette woman." And I said, "Okay, great. What is your favorite karaoke song?" And he said, "Oh, Purple Rain." And I said, "Cool. I want you to walk up to her and sing the first 2 lines of Purple Rain as if it's karaoke night and you and she are sharing the microphone." And he looked at me like I was the devil. Like, what? You want me to do what? But he was laughing as he said it. He got it. He realized that, okay, the idea here is not to walk up to a woman and hit on her and try to take something from her. The idea is to walk up and give her something. Give her something to smile about, something to laugh. In this case, something to entertain her on a Friday night in New York City. So he walks over and he commits to it and just, lays it out. I never meant to cause you any sorrow. Never meant to cause you any pain. I don't know why I'm singing like Elvis for some reason. That was me doing Elvis, doing Prince. But he walked up and she just broke out laughing. She thought it was hilarious because he wasn't walking up trying to take something from her. He was walking up trying to give her something. He was trying to be generous and have a fun moment with her. And next thing you knew, she was singing the song with him as if they were doing a duet on karaoke night. So you have 2 random strangers singing Purple Rain a cappella as a duet. And if you can do that, not that you need to do that, but if you can do that, you can walk up to anyone, anywhere, and put your real best self out there. And it's about authenticity and also just taking some risks. You have to take some romantic risks in dating if you want to have some good connections. So that's a favorite story of mine. And I've done it myself. I've done the karaoke opener. So I try to practice what I preach.
I really love what you said about like not taking something from a woman, because there's definitely, I think that, there's a lot of bad flirting, and it usually revolves around how you look or your body or something. It's like, it's not a karaoke opener. It's like some like objectifying comment. And a lot of guys don't even realize how off-putting that is. And so I like how like you're like a dating coach in this hashtag Me Too kind of, movement and really navigating that space. So I know you talk about that a lot in your book, but how has that changed in your coaching at all? How do you kind of navigate that space? Because if somebody came up to me and started singing to me, I would be super entertained by that. I would love it too. It's so much, it wouldn't make me uncomfortable, because they're being vulnerable. They're not immediately expecting me to be vulnerable, right? Like, I don't even know you. You know what I mean? I don't, and to me, this happens more in dating apps, right? Because it's the straight go-to is like something uncomfortable versus, where it's like now a response is expected from me. So how do you kind of navigate that? Because I would imagine for a lot of men, it's probably really intimidating because they don't want to say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing.
Yes, I love the karaoke opener. Or I love any opening line, quote unquote, that makes you be yourself, takes you out of a mindset of how do I get what I want from her, which is a understandable but counterproductive mindset, and it makes you say, how can I express myself or be a great awesome version of myself. So that's why we do the karaoke opener. And to your point about the Me Too era and bad and good, quote unquote, ways to break the ice with a woman if you're a single man, there's a lot of bad advice out there, like be sexual, or be say something audacious or polarizing. And it's okay to say something polarizing, but you don't ever want to be too sexual too soon on the open. Basically, you don't want to be all sexy time like Borat for a while. Yeah, you don't want to be that guy. The number one superpower that men can access that most men aren't, but the most game-changing superpower other than your authentic personality is fun and playfulness. Everybody wants to have fun and play or feel good emotions when they go out for a night. Some women are open to flirting, and some women are open to a little bit of risque flirting, but not in the first 60 seconds, and maybe not at all that evening. So my advice to guys when I work with them is I say, hey, let's just play. Everybody loves to play. We all love to have fun. To quote the great 1980s philosopher Cyndi Lauper, girls just want to have fun. And so bring the fun, bring the playfulness at night. That's what the karaoke opener is for. But if it's in the daytime, you're going to change your approach. You're not going to walk up to a woman at Starbucks at noon and start singing Prince. It'd probably be a little bit miscalibrated, but you can still make it light and playful. Maybe you're standing in line at Starbucks and you look to your left and there's an intriguing, attractive woman. You're not going to sing Prince, but you might look at her and say, what do you think? Should I get a cake pop today or should I get a brownie? What do you think? I'm putting my nutritional fate in your hands. And that's very light. And it also makes sense in the context. You're talking about coffee or brownies or cookies at a coffee shop. That makes total sense. And that's a small way to bring her into a conversation with you. So you can get all sexy time on maybe the first or second date later. Those first few minutes, those first few seconds, just keep it light, keep it playful. And women love that.
Amazing. So I kind of want to go back to the one thing you said, practice what you preach. And I don't think anybody's asked you this on your show before, but you are in a relationship now. I'm sure when you started coaching, you were single, right? Has there been a change? And maybe I don't want to say you got rusty now that you're in a relationship, but you can't really go out and be like, I want to try this one of my clients. Let me go out myself and try this at a bar, but because you're not going to go just hit on women now that you got a girlfriend just to practice for your profession, you know what I mean? But has there, I'm not just saying you got a little rusty practicing what you preach, but has there been like a little slight change in the way you do things?
Great question. No, there hasn't, because the art of let's just stick with the approach. The first moment a man says hello to a woman who he has not yet met, the idea of approaching, it's about a committed, again, value offering energy where you're just looking to have a social conversation in a light, playful way. That's attractive to many women, even if it's not flirtatious. So I will walk up to a woman in front of my clients as a demonstration, and I might start off with a genuine question or something playful, something light, and I'll commit to it. I want them to see how easy it is once you understand the art of walking up to somebody and committing to it, but being free from an outcome or not needing it to go well. Part of the art of a really good approach is, hey, I'm here to talk to you, I'm here to chat, but I don't need this to go well. There's a freedom from outcome that feels really good to the other person. In other words, a lack of agenda. There's no agenda other than I want to chat with you and hopefully make your night a little bit better than before you met me. There's absolutely nothing else I want from you other than a short interaction. And so I don't need to be single to bring that energy to an approach. In fact, I've approached women with my girlfriend right there. with her consent, because she comes out and she plays Wingwoman for my clients and me when we go out in the city, and she understands what this is about. And she knows I'm not hitting on girls. I'm just starting a social conversation and
just working,
being fun, playful. Exactly, just working.
And
then I'll take the woman I'm talking to and I'll say, "Oh, hey, meet my client Barry." I'm sorry, I won't say client. meet my friend Barry. I won't say client. Meet my friend Barry. You should talk to this guy. He's a pilot. Tell her the story you told me, Barry, about the time you crash landed that plane when the engine caught fire, and I'll tee him up to engage her, and then I've done my job as the wingman. But
landed in that sketchy airport to save all those orphan kids and take them to safety. Come on.
Yes, right. As good as I am at my job, and I'm very proud about what I do and how I do it, I'm still a straight dude walking up to a woman at a bar, and my beautiful, feminine, pretty, smart, intelligent, wonderful girlfriend, she's way better at getting a woman to pay attention than I am. Because, as you know, Molly, women are going to trust each other immediately faster than they would a random guy. So as good as I am at what I do, when my girlfriend comes out and plays Wingwoman for us, she's like hot knife through butter. She can walk up and have my client talking to 3 women because he gets that sign off of the Wingwoman. So it's really powerful.
It makes a difference for sure. So let's talk a little bit about content, because you have done a lot. You've been on television shows. You've got 2 different books out. You've got a podcast that you've been really consistent with. You've done interview podcasts. You've done solo podcasts. So let's talk about how is all of this content creation impacting your business? Like, how are your clients finding you? Is it from these avenues primarily?
Yeah, a lot of people find me from my website, which has a lot of content on it, videos and otherwise. The podcast has been fantastic. I love hearing when a guy heard me on the podcast and said, "Oh, I really like what you said about authenticity, or that episode you did talking about mindset and confidence." And I just, I could really feel like I know you. That's why, part of the reason why I launched the podcast with your great team's help, Molly, is because I wanted to give a man the second best experience next to working with me directly, to feel like he was talking to me one-on-one. I am a podcast addict as a consumer. There were some podcasts that helped get me through the pandemic, where the only people I was talking to or connecting to in my mind were some podcast episodes or podcasts that I loved, a Beatles podcast that I love, and some nerdy movie podcasts. So the value that I try to bring to the table with the Dating Transformation podcast is knowing that there might be a guy out there who's lonely, or who just doesn't know what to believe in terms of dating techniques. He's confused. There's a million YouTube gurus who claim to know what they're talking about. Most of them are off base to an extent. Or he just wants a big brother type, a wingman, to say, "Hey, here's what you do. Here's how you talk to a woman on a first date. Here's how you go for that first kiss. Here's what you don't do. Don't be sexual too soon." So I just love the not everybody's going to be able to work with me, obviously, as a client with me as their coach. So the podcast is the second best thing. It's it hopefully feels really one-on-one to that given guy. Every week I'm trying to talk to him like there's one guy out there. I'm talking to that younger, introverted, nice guy, younger version of me, who just has a lot to offer but doesn't know how to channel it, and just needs that confidence boost and some clarity. So that is the kind of guy who finds me, and hopefully, even if he doesn't find me and ever work with me, hopefully he's getting some life-changing help on the pod, thanks in part to your guys' efforts.
That's amazing. And backstory for people who haven't listened to your podcast, you were doing interviews first, and now you're doing some interviews, but you're doing shorter bi-weekly solo podcasts, which I think is really brilliant. I think we're at a space now in the podcast world where it's like, if you have a branded podcast for business development purposes, there's 2 options. There's an interview podcast, or there's the 10-minute or less, solo podcast where you just crank them out and it's more volume than it is length. And I think that, you're doing both successfully, and it's really working, but that consistency is super key for sure. But I want to ask you about You said that most people find you from your website, and I know that you have a large team of vendors. You have website people, you got podcast people. Can you give us a little bit more on that? Because how are people getting your website? How are you driving them there?
I have a really great SEO team. And early on when I launched my business, I found some smart SEO people and they said, hey, let's get your website ranking for some keywords so that men who need dating help, who are searching for quote unquote dating coach or quote unquote dating advice for men, all these different terms can find you. And that was really great advice because that's how still a majority of my clients find me is they're searching dating coach or dating help or what to say on Tinder or how to get a girlfriend. And then they find my website. And then oftentimes then they listen to my podcast. And the podcast is that second touch point that they need to get a sense of knowing me and liking me before they might hire me or read my book. And so the SEO search term was and continues to be a big driver of clients and my audience. And I'm happy to say that my book, I would not have gotten my book deal had I not had my website and SEO dialed in, because the editor with Simon & Schuster who found me found my website because she searched dating coach in New York City and I came up. So that was a great email to get one day a few years ago from Simon & Schuster saying, hey, do you want to write a book? Yeah. It's the rare exception to spam. It's like, whoa, yes, I'd love to write a book. So SEO has helped me a lot. And also the SEO mojo and juice that I get from doing a bi-weekly podcast. That's all this content is going on my website, all these SEO terms that keep me ranking and relevant. It's just this really wonderful upward spiral of content. And it's only going to get bigger and better. I was just actually, before this conversation, I was just talking to a marketing advisor I have, and we were talking about some podcast related ideas and guests to shoot for. So I'm going to continue to do my solo pod every week. At the same time, I'm going to keep bringing on really great guests who have something of value to offer my listener and also have great relationships, I hope.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm glad that you talked about SEO at the podcast, because I feel that podcasts are just a Trojan horse of SEO content, and it's almost always overlooked, right? And so it's kind of like the Chat GPT problem, where people are really focused on adjectives and describing themselves and their own show, and they put a few links and they completely miss out on the fact that, like, a podcast, right, all that metadata, right, the stuff that goes on YouTube, the stuff that's going on the description, that's all just an opportunity to cram a bunch of keywords in to as many as you possibly can without sounding like a robot or a ridiculous person, and lean away from the adjectives, because all of that's going on YouTube, second largest search engine in the world. That's going on your website. It's getting crawled by Google, so it's seeing those keywords. It's answering specific questions that people are asking right now. And I think you've done a really great job of that. And I'm sure it's from working with the SEO team before you started podcasting, but I think it's a huge value that's really often overlooked by so many people. I mean, if you look at the average podcast for a business, and then you look at their website, they're linking out to Buzzsprout, they're not putting the descriptions, they're missing out on all that SEO data. So I think it's important to mention that, like, in conjunction with the SEO work you're doing on the website, and then always putting up fresh content, I would imagine that's keeping a steady stream of traffic to your website, with that base work already done, of course.
Right. No, those are all really good points. The biggest thing that I'm focusing on now is consistency, which is super important, as you know more than anyone. And I've learned how important consistency is. I have been inconsistent at times in other areas of content over the years. I feel really good about the podcast consistency I've done. Again, thanks in large part to how easy Heartcast makes it, which is incredibly easy, and I really appreciate that. And you're welcome. No, I mean that. And I think if I could give one tip to the person listening to this, about how do I stay consistent and make content a really powerful tool to grow your business. It's to try to find ways that make this enjoyable to you. make it feel really good to you, and whatever that means to you. So, for example, the reason I love doing podcasts, as you might have noticed, is I love to talk. 25 minutes have gone by quickly because I'm just yammering away. So I love to talk, and I love to give insight and advice to men especially. And that feels really good to me. And so I've been consistent with it because I enjoy it. And similarly, when you're trying to figure out in your business, how do I create really great content that grows? I think it should start with, what do you enjoy doing? What feels good? What do you like to do? And what will you keep doing? Because if you don't enjoy it to a large extent, it's going to be tough to keep it consistent.
I agree. I think you've nailed it. You know, we just launched a new client who's kind of doing a similar thing. She has a podcast about CRM tools. And so she batch recorded a lot of shorter episodes, and then we're able to make all this content around it. You know, we take a lot of the work off the table for her so she can focus on what she wants to talk about, what she's enjoying talking about, and then everything else just sort of happens. And so, because I think there's a big misnomer, right? You know, I was hanging out with a friend this weekend. She's like, well, how do I do the social media, and how do I do 3 months of it? And I'm like, well, hold on. Like, you know, you can get, it's the shiny object thing. There's too many people on Instagram like, oh, hack your growth, do this, do that. It's like, well, wait a minute. Consistency is important. So you got to do something that you actually like and you enjoy, and that's manageable, right? Because life happens. I mean, we're about to roll into the holidays, right? And everybody thinks they're going to do a bunch of work, and then they don't. And then what are you going to do over the holidays? You know, that consistency can kind of go away. So if you like it, it'll be a lot easier to maintain it. If you look at your social media to-do list and you're like, Jesus, you know, chances are probably not going to get done, you know?
Well, I just created something. I'm revealing this right now for the first time to you and Matt. But I just did something for my upcoming relaunched YouTube channel that I'm also going to be doing on the podcast. It's called A Dating Coach Rates the Rom-Coms, where I watch rom-coms and then I take clips of it and I talk about the good or bad dating strategy. I just did Love Actually. And all the things that are wrong in that movie, dating strategy wise, and also some things that are right, although there's not very much. And the holiday is coming up, a 40-year-old virgin I'm doing. So I could not wait to create that content because I was loving and enjoying the idea. And so to an extent, we've all got to crank out the 7 ways to blah, 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 blah. You know, we have to do that. That's just part of being a thought leader, a business owner, content creator. But I guess I would say to anyone listening, what piece of content would you love to do? Love to do that would feel so good to you. Work backwards from there. And if you can find a way to make that enjoyable and at least reasonably valuable to your audience, if you're going to enjoy it and it lights you up, you're going to do it consistently and regularly. This is basically what I do with my clients. I say, how can we get you loving approaching? How do we turn approaching women into something that makes your hands shake and forehead sweat into something that you start to enjoy and feel good about? Because once you start enjoying something, once it feels good, if it also brings value to your business and it feels good, no one's going to stop you. You're going to create so much of it. You're going to be excited. So that's a recent aha moment I had. So I'm really psyched about rating the rom-coms through the eyes of a dating coach.
That's good.
I'll check it out.
That's real good.
Yeah, and I'll do it on the pod, but also YouTube as well.
Yeah. So last one I have, right? This is coming out Tuesday, the 21st here. So week of Thanksgiving, when most people, everybody goes home. Any tips for, the people that do go home and just for the week or a couple of days, and, Wednesday night's the big night out, see everybody from back home, and any tips along those lines? Do it, avoid it, don't do it.
You stole you teed me up nicely, Matt. That Wednesday before Thanksgiving is the busiest night out in bars of the year, they say. It's right up there with New Year's Eve if it's not number one. So the nice thing about going out during the holidays, if you're single and looking to mingle, is you don't have to worry about coming up with some cool, amazing opener, icebreaker. You can start with a sort of a one-size-fits-all, hey, what are your big plans for Thanksgiving? Or talk about the holiday, talk about the topic. I think I coach men, and a lot of men struggle with, what do I say? What are the right words? What's the clever, funny thing? Don't try to be clever. just ask a question or make a comment that makes sense based on where you are and what's going on in the world. What's going on the day before Thanksgiving? Everybody's talking about Thanksgiving. So you could walk up to somebody at a bar and say, "Oh, so who do you got in the big game tomorrow? The Lions or the Cowboys?" If you see her wearing a football jersey. Anyway, don't overthink the opener. Think what would make sense to ask somebody or say to somebody tonight or today in this context, and then you've got a good icebreaker. And then at that point, just show them your real personality, and usually good things are going to happen.
Yeah, or if you're the person that goes home and goes to the bar with every single person you grew up with, just don't do it. Avoid it.
And don't ghost people.
Right. No ghosts allowed. No ghosting allowed.
Right.
Absolutely.
And not the ghost of Christmas past or New Year
Halloween's
or
over.
Thanksgiving past or present is included in that list as well.
Exactly. No ghosting in dating, only in Dickens novels.
So, Connell, you're probably going to regret this, but you told us that one of your special skills is that you can make up songs on demand. And so I've got some keywords for you. Are you ready? I think you should write a song about me being single, living on the side of a mountain in Costa Rica with my 3 dogs. That's good fodder, right?
Wait, so I didn't know that about you, Molly. So you're single and living with 3 dogs.
Yeah, me and my 3 dogs next to a volcano. That's
okay. So every night is a 3-dog night for you.
yeah, exactly.
And
if this is good, I'll put it on my Bumble profile and see if it gets me any traction.
Now I want to do a 3-dog night inspired parody song about you. Yes. So I do my favorite hobby when I'm not working is musical improv, and I perform musical improv, and we make up songs about anything in the moment. So that's why Molly is saying this, is I have a really weird skill, and I can sing or rhyme about almost anything when given the suggestion. So is that what you're asking me to do to end this episode?
Exactly what I'm asking you to do.
Okay. So the suggestion is, what is it? So give me like one word or phrase, please.
Oh, one word.
Yeah. It's like an improv. People yell out, mountain or Costa Rica or what have you, and
volcano.
Okay, here we go. I'm sober now, so that makes it even more challenging, but in a good way. Okay.
Or you can use Costa Rica, whichever one you prefer.
All right. Here we go. I'm gonna do a little acapella. I'll see if I can get through. 4 lines and the chorus. Okay.
That's amazing.
All right. Well, acapella. Here we go. I'll do a little I know a woman, her name is Molly. If you met her, you would say, golly, she is single all by herself. However, there's a visiting Christmas elf. Actually, there are 3. It's gonna be a 3-dog night in Costa Rica. A 3-dog night in Costa Rica. 3-dog night in Costa Rica. Yeah. Thank you. I think I could just hear everybody clicking unsubscribe right now as I was singing that.
It'd be a 3-dog night.
So the last time I ever tell anybody about this.
You're like, I'm taking that out of my bio immediately. What the hell was I thinking? Well, that's the first time anybody's saying about me on the podcast, so that's a first. But well, Connell, we were definitely looking forward to this today because we love hanging out with you. It's always going to be a good time, even without the improv singing. But that was just extra on top. So thanks for coming on the show. And listen, if you have been checking out this podcast and you found it interesting, you got to go to datingtransformation.com and you need to get hooked up with Connell. He's got discovery calls. He's got resources. He's got a ton of podcasts. Definitely check that out. I know everybody says like, subscribe, comment, but for real, the podcast is really good. And we're not just saying that because we produce it. We actually really enjoy it. So give him some love. Check him out. And Connell, do you have anything you'd like to leave our voracious audience with?
Well, I just wrote a whole opera in my mind about Matt. And I was going to sing it, but we'll save that for part 2. No, just thank you both so much for your support and for having me on. Thank you.
Thank you. And listen, have a happy holidays, and we'll see you real soon. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Camp Content. This is Molly.
And this is Matt.
And we are Heartcast Media, aka Camp Content, and we appreciate all of your support. If you found this content valuable, please comment on social media, LinkedIn, wherever you find us, and we will make sure to comment back.
And be sure to go on and subscribe and like on your favorite platforms, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, you name it. Leave us that subscription, leave us that good review.
We'll love you forever. So until next time, be excellent to each other, and we'll see you next week.
Produced by Heartcast Media.